Hi guys, and welcome back to Pembroke's Own and the Writing Tings playlist. That's my sixth take trying to say this. Fuck it, it's staying in. Today I'm going to be giving advice to aspiring writers when it comes to writing plot twists and subverting expectations. These are more commonly found in thrillers, horrors, fantasy, crime and action, but these can also be applied to any type of genre. To help with this, I'll be doing a few comparisons regarding TV shows and movies, purely because I think more people watch TV shows and movies, but these can be applied to when it comes to writing your book. Over the years, there have been many great twists, like, for example, when it comes to the end of The Usual Suspects, and there have been some absolutely stinking subversions. For example, the biggest one of all, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which we all thought were going to be great movies, but turned out to be just as painful as watching James Corden get fucked by a raccoon for 9 hours straight. I know some of you might have seen that joke already on Instagram or Facebook. I'm keeping it in. Fuck it. I don't care. I'm keeping it in. But before we go any further, a huge shout out to this video sponsor, My Books. The sponsor for this video is My Books. Buy them. All jokes aside, I will be including my books in this video, as I think it's only fair that if I'm putting someone else's work on the line and picking it apart piece by piece, it's only fair that I do it to myself as well, and you'll get to see how the rules that I'm about to give you I've applied to my own work. Let's start with subversion, or my very vague definition of it, because I'm about as descriptive as a dictionary as flat earthers are when it comes to using coherent conversation. Subversion is where you take a familiar genre trope, the girl next door in a rom-com or Joseph Fritzl in a hostage horror. Take these basic themes and add something fresh and unexpected to it. The girl next door in a rom-com could be a dinosaur whisperer, or she could be selling human body parts on the Albanian black market. But to pull off subversion successfully, it has to have meaning to your story. It has to have some kind of underlying depth which furthers your narrative and your plot along. If you're adding subversion purely for the sake of shock value, you're not doing it right, because there's not going to be that much of a payoff and it's not going to be satisfying for the reader. So what are the good moments when it comes to subverting expectations, and what have we been given over the years in terms of TV and movie that do it well and don't do it so well? We're going to have a look at two examples now, and I'm going to lay down to you why both of these work, and why one works and one really doesn't. Let's start with the good, and I'm going to be picking a movie that is one of my favourites of all time, but I'm not going to be going with the bias on it, because the reason that this is one of my favourite movies of all time is because how it subverts expectations. And we're going to be referring to the 1980s classic starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, The Predator. I've just realised I've called it The Predator, and it's not called that, it's called Predator. The Predator is the one that came out in 2018 and absolutely sucks balls. So Predator starts exactly how you'd imagine it. Within the first few minutes, you've been introduced to Arnold Schwarzenegger and a bunch of massive big guys who could quite clearly crush your head like a beer can, and you know for a fact you're in for a classic 1980s testosterone-fueled macho movie, and you'd be absolutely right for the first 20 minutes. Within the first 20 minutes, you get your 1980s action, you get your testosterone, you get shit blown up, you get gunfire, you get weapons. The only thing that's missing is essentially the occasional boob shot, but we can forgive it for that. On paper, this is what you consider to be the 1980s poster child of action movies. Quippy one-liners, it's just everything that a person of my age needed at that time. And at the end of the first act, the battle has happened. It's, oh my god, it's just glorious. But then, that's when the subversion happens, and it is one of the biggest payoffs when it comes to subversion techniques I've ever seen in cinema, and it is literally with one quick slash. This subversion works for two main reasons. The first one is that it flips the narrative of this movie on its head, where you've just seen a group of men that includes Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura, Carl Weathers, just to name a few, who have just taken out an entire army camp, are no longer the top of the food chain in this movie. They are no longer the higher power. In one fell swoop, you have gone from a 1980s action comedy movie to now a survival horror. The second reason this subversion particularly works is that it introduces the main threat of this movie, the Predator itself. I could probably spend a whole video just talking about how amazing this alien creature is and its design and everything that went into it, but we're talking about the subversion here. And if you're going to make someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was at the top tier in this movie, who has just done all of these things and just wiped out an entire army base, now be the prey, this is the perfect way to do it. Not just switch genres, but switch the stakes of this movie, because it is unsettling, and it's quite possibly one of the most ingenious ways I've ever seen to introduce a new monster threat into a movie. And that's what Predator does. It takes you from that safe 1980s quick one-liner movies with the bit of comedy, with the explosions and all that stuff, to a survival horror. You go from seeing human guns and just all that stuff that guys my age love, to now people being ripped apart. And I'm not talking people my size, the Jesse Venturas, the Carl Weathers. And in this movie, they are trained military people who are now being stalked. The switch from that to that has weight, because it then sets up the rest of the movie for this tonal shift that you just weren't expecting, and it now lets you know that anything is on the table. But that Subversion, that does work, because it sweeps the rug out from underneath you and lets you know that what you thought before was not how it is, and it also sets up the perfect tone for the rest of the movie. But what I'm going to talk about now is Subversion that doesn't work, and I could easily talk about The Last Jedi to do this, because every chance I'm going to talk and dunk on that movie, I'm going to fucking take it. But I'm going to talk about quite possibly one of the biggest TV fuck-ups in recent history, and it's one that's gone down in infamy, and I'm sure a lot of you out there would have seen Game of Thrones. And right now I'm going to talk about Arya Stark killing the Night King. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, then major spoiler warnings coming up, because I'm about to delve deep into something that was built up over 7 seasons. And I'm going to hate briefly going over this 7-season plot of what Jon Snow had to go through and how much of a letdown it was that he didn't get to do it. I'm going to fucking hate this. Scene 1, Episode 1, Season 1 of Game of Thrones establishes very quickly that the White Walkers are the true antagonists of this TV show. The White Walkers are Game of Thrones' version of the undead. Over the course of 7 seasons, they will be travelling down north from an untold land, I'm not going to pretend I know what it's called, and be travelling down south to Westeros. This piece of land is essentially Scotland and England, but no one wants to talk about it, even though that is quite clearly what it is. Over the course of these 7 seasons, a character named Jon Snow, who is introduced to the White Walkers very early on, spends 7 seasons trying to unite all these factions down south that are bickering about the fucking throne and all this kind of shit, to stop their bickering and face on the bigger problem and the neutral threat that is at hand. This threat that could wipe out the entire civilization. Jon Snow spent 7 seasons of these factions that even tried to kill his family and did kill some members of his family, and then fight back against another bastard called Ramsay Bolton, which is just another season in itself, but that is absolutely brilliant. But the point is, Jon Snow spent all of this time, and his main focus was always against the White Walkers. No one believed him, and he even managed to get a dragon flying queen to travel up north to help, fight in a battle against them, and even quit that bitch Cersei, who somehow inherited the throne down in fucking Game of Thrones, fucking Westeros capital. I'm going way... Now, to kill the White Walkers, you can kill them individually with a material, I believe, called Dragonstone or Dragonglass. It's one of those two. I'm not entirely sure which. The issue is that the White Walkers, as they are the undead, the leader of this group, the Night King, can resurrect anyone who has been killed. So if you get killed by a White Walker, he can resurrect you back as a White Walker. And killing off this horde would have been an absolute mission. So they resorted down to the one thing that the White Walkers have going for them. They kind of have that vampire thing going on where you kill the alpha, the rest perish. So on paper, considering it's been Jon Snow's journey, who do you think got to kill the Night King? I'll give you a clue. It wasn't Jon Snow. Jon Snow's sister, Arya, who had no involvement with the White Walkers whatsoever leading up to this point, even though she did have her incredible character arc, is the one who gets the honour of killing the Night King. And as much as some people might try and bite in and say, well, she used that thing that she did in Season 7 where she was in the training thing, that might have been the technique she used to kill the Night King, but there was no payoff. As she got to kill him, what was Jon Snow doing? He was shouting at an ice dragon. One of the biggest fuck-ups in TV history, and it was the point where a lot of people started to switch off with Game of Thrones Season 8. Even though it hadn't started off great, I think that was the final nail in the coffin, regardless of all the other bullshit that happened after that. When it comes to this in particular scene of Jon Snow being denied this and Arya getting it for nothing more than shock value, the words cold and hollow come to mind, and there was absolutely zero payoff for everyone who had been watching it for close to a decade. So what have we learned about Subversion? Subversion is a great technique to keep your readers on edge and let them know that absolutely anything is on the table. The trick is in the execution. Can I apply this to my own stories? Of course I can. I wouldn't have torn apart Game of Thrones Season 8 if I couldn't back up my own Subversion myself. In The Taste Beneath, and my readers will tell you this, I took a familiar trope, one that is actually used in Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad, and turned it on its head. Essentially, the trope that I took, I said essentially again, the trope that I took normally only applies to a protagonist, but I applied this to the antagonist as well, especially with a character called Father. What I did with Father wasn't just for shock value, it was to let the reader know that I was happy to use this trope my own way. But also with what I did to Father, I then elevated another character called Connor, who got a lot more screen time, even though it's not a movie, it's a book, got a lot more screen time at the end, and it was to set him up for the upcoming books. I didn't do Subversion for the shock value. There was a couple of things I was thinking about, but at the end of the day, they really didn't add to the story. But what I did with Father, I knew would catch people off guard and let them know that this genre or this particular trope doesn't work one way for me. I'm willing to put everything on the table and you have no idea what's coming next. The second way I've done Subversion is with the exact same trope, but applied it to my second book, but in a reverse form. I'm trying my best not to give spoilers away from here, but with the death count being so high in The Taste Beneath, I knew people were expecting it maybe in diseased intentions, and I actually held back from that, knowing that people will be on edge. So now when it comes around to book 3, people will say, well, there was a lot more death in The Taste Beneath, but not so much in Diseased Intentions. Where is he going to go now with book 3? And that's exactly where I want the reader, in the palm of my hand. Between the two books, I have subverted the expectations, and I know now that whatever I put in front of them, whether it's high action, low action, high death count, low death count, they won't know what to expect. So covering Subversion, we're now going to go on to its twin sister, Plot Twist. And for everyone out there who knows me, knows I love a damn good plot twist. So what is a plot twist? Well, you can see I've got my script in front of me now, because I've tried to read this 8 times and I can't read my own handwriting. So I'm just going to have to read it from here, so bear with me. A plot twist is where you take an unsuspecting element of your story and alter the perceptions regarding this particular moment. Whether it's a reveal that you've hinted at, or something that you've kept well hidden. I fucking hate my handwriting. A good plot twist should affect your reader emotionally, rapidly switching between two different extremes, whether it's from calm to fear or depression to relief. And it's also worth noting that all plot twists do not have to be negative. Some can bring elation to the story and something that was hidden right in front of their eyes the whole time. I think The Notebook is a good example of this, or my good friend Helen Aitchison in her most recent book, The Life and Love Attempts of Kitty Cook. The plot twist in that, I don't even know she expected it to be a plot twist, was just heartwarming. What else is key to plot twists? It should affect how your reader perceives the rest of the story and also what they read before. A good plot twist will have immediate and long-lasting effects. One thing that is subjective to you is the timestamp of your plot twist. If you're writing a movie or screenplay, then I can say plot twists tend to have more effect at the end of the movie, just to name a few. The Sixth Sense, Saw, Fight Club, Memento, The Usual Suspects, Shutter Island. The reason that these plot twists are so effective are for 2 main reasons. Reason number 1 why this is so effective is because it completely changes how you perceive everything you've just watched. And reason number 2 is it doesn't give you time to react as the movie ends and you have no resolve for this absolute kick in the dick that you've just received. Face it, those movies that I just listed, how many times have you spoken about them or seen them used in memes? They're memorable because the twists are effective and they're at the end of the movie, just leaving their audience aghast. Is that a word? Is now. Deal with it. One twist that does occur midway through its story is one of my favourite all times, and this is the one that I'm going to be breaking down for you, and this is one of the ones that actually wanted to get me into storytelling. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will know this plot twist very well, or at least you will know my love for it. General Shepard's betrayal in Modern Warfare 2. The original one, not that piece of shit that came out last year. The twist in this story is multi-layered. Not only does he kill Roach and Ghost, but it also establishes that General Shepard was the one the whole time feeding Makarov intel in order to start a global conflict. This twist comes in the middle of the story and it works for 2 different reasons. Number 1, it hits you emotionally straight away. That scene when he kills Roach and Ghost has gone down in infamy in gaming lore. and it hits you hard straight away. But in terms for the rest of the story, the two remaining characters that you play as, Price and Soap, your focus has now shifted. Before, your goal was to bring in Makarov and put an end to this global conflict, but now it has become personal, and now you are hot on the heels of General Shepard, and you have a whole new motive. Kill him. And I can safely say with this plot twist, it does affect you emotionally. It affects me emotionally. I know how this scene plays out. I still play it. I still get pissed off. I still get angry. And after the betrayal happens and the next mission comes round and I'm playing as Soap, you best believe I go Rambo mode. I don't finish that mission until I've killed everyone. Even if I run past someone and they're 300 meters behind me, I will go back just to kill them. And they play it up so perfectly with the music and with the voice comms going over, with Price trying to tell Ghost, do not trust Shepard. But he's unfortunately 15 seconds late as that comm is going into Ghost's ear just after he's been shot. When it comes to immediate and long-lasting effect, particularly in gaming, there is a lot more in movies, but when it comes to gaming, this takes the cherry on top of the cake. So that was a plot twist that worked. Now, what's one that doesn't work? And this one's quite easy to go into. I won't have to spend too long on it. But M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. As much as there is Easter eggs plotted along through the course of this movie and signs, I'm not going to do the air quotations on that, this plot twist does not work. It has 0, 0, 0 payoff. If you're going to have an advanced alien species that has the ability to travel intergalactically and try and harvest species of planets, you would have thought that this species of aliens in particular would have done a bit of scouting on the planet first. You would have thought maybe that they would have seen that this planet is covered in 80% of something that is harmful to them. This advanced alien species that can travel through space. Having the aliens in this movie allergic to water is about the same logical equivalent of ordering salad in your doner kebab. So that was a twist that works and a twist that doesn't work. And again, I can back up my own storytelling by telling twists, again, which some of my readers have absolutely loved. And I'm going to go with an example from my second book, Diseased Intentions. On the surface level regarding my second book, it looked like the plot twist was going to revolve around the twins, or the revelation that what happened was because of them. But the actual plot twist was something much deeper that went to a group called Project Zodiac. This was a double layered twist that I did because as much as it was trying to get Ryan in trouble, there was a bigger meaning behind it. Ryan being my main character who has made a lot of enemies since the first book. How I revealed this twist had two different segments. They're actually a few chapters apart, but it's the gravity of the first one when you find out who is behind it and what their end goal was spread over a few chapters is what has the weight behind it. The reason I chose this kind of twist is because it gives the reader time to try and digest what happened with the twins, and then it hits them with the final part of it. And it actually changes the end of the story because what Ryan was supposed to be framed for had more connotations to something else that happens later on in the book. The reason I chose this twist is because it stays with the reader. The revelation of who the twins were, but also who they might be working with, which hasn't been fully revealed yet. But also it shows that their drive and focus to try and harm Ryan in the most disgusting ways possible is there, and that there is someone still around who wants to do it. This is going to carry over into book 3, and I know it works really well. My readers have loved it so far, and I do apply all these rules that I've just given to you, not just Subversion or for twisting, but for character arcs as well. I won't just tell you or give you these pieces of advice and not take them on myself. Does this mean if you're a fiction writer that you have to subvert or have plot twists? Absolutely not. There are many amazing stories out there that do not rely on subverting or plot twists, and they are literally just character arcs and plots, and that is incredible. It's up to you and what you find interesting as a writer and how you can pass that on to your reader, whether you decide to put subplots, twists or subversion in yourself. Why do I like subversion and plot twists so much? I can run that by you right now, and I can actually do it with you now. If you sit there right now, just think about your life. Just think about your life and all the major incidents that happen, all these huge moments that defined who you are, how you reacted, and what it gave you as a person in terms of depth and character and learning. Did you see any of those moments coming? If you are thinking about subverting or a plot twist, I will give you one solid bit of advice, which is a culmination of everything we've spoken about so far. If you are going to have a plot twist or you are going to subvert, only do it if it helps your story and takes it to that next step. Do not do it just for shock value, because it will have no weight and it will add nothing, and it's actually a betrayal to the reader. But that's the end of the video. If you are an aspiring writer, I do hope these tips help you. They've helped me massively over the years as I've taken on from different writers, and just watching movies and different critiques as well on what works and what doesn't. Don't just take my advice out there. There are plenty of other critiques out there who could probably verbalise it a lot better than I could. If you are new here, please subscribe. At the moment, I'm currently only uploading once every 2 weeks, as I'm writing my third book as we speak. And these short videos, whether they're only 10 to 15 minutes long, actually takes 10 hours of preparation. And I need to reserve so much time of my own for my third book. If you did like this video, make sure you smash that like button. And as always, much love. Take care. Peace.